Hello everyone, so this has been a pain in the arse to set up audio, video, capture wise, but we got there in the end. It's literally taken me the whole day. It's 2 o'clock now and I started at 10 this morning, but we done it. So now I'm going to show you how to make one microphone in a small room sound massive and to really beef out your drum mix, because we all want massive sounding drums. First things first, I'm doing this in Reaper, but you can do this in any software you like. Same with the plugins. I'm using plugins that I like using, but once again, you can use any plugins you like. The main ones we're going to be using are EQ of any sort, a delay of some sort, a reverb. I got Soothe on here, but you don't really need it. You can just be really pernickety with your EQ. And I guess another EQ at the bottom here. But like I said, you can use any plugins you like. You'll still get the same results, or similar, very similar. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like unprocessed. So this is just a microphone that was set up in the room. I didn't actually record these. My friend Tom recorded them, I believe, at home. I'm not sure what mics he used, but this is what it sounds like without any processing on it. So it sounds pretty good. You can hear all the drums quite well. Somewhere in here there's some toms, and the room mics actually pick it up really well. So doing this processing that we're about to do to this room mic should help bring all that out and also just glue everything together. First thing we're going to do is add an EQ. So I'm using FabFilter Pro Q3. I've quite dramatically cut the high end off here into about 1.5 kilohertz. I boosted around where the kick and snare is, because out of this room mic I want all the thuddiness and the where the high energy impacts are of the drums and the shells. I'm trying to get rid of the cymbals as much as possible. This is a bit extreme. You can always just not do as much as I've done here, but for this mix and the way I've mixed my overheads in with it, it works nicely. So I'm mainly using this room mic to get extra punch out of the shells, not too worried about cymbals or anything in here. So yeah, so with the EQ, this is what it sounds like. This is without. So I basically added a low pass filter on it and then boosted around 100 to 200 hertz. The next thing is probably one of the most important parts of this, and that's adding a delay. So I've added a redelay, which is just a Reaper's built-in delay. So what I've done is I've dropped all the dry off and kept all the wet up, and I've made the length of the delay 22 milliseconds. So you can have a play about with however much time you want the delay to act, but I've always found for some reason that 22 milliseconds sounds the most natural kind of reflection you'd get from a big drum room. Because you haven't got the dry up, you won't be able to hear any difference until you hear it against the other drums. So that's with it off, that's with it on. But if I then bring in a snare, you can hear that delay now. So the room is now playing 22 milliseconds behind the snare drum and the rest of the kit. And that's what gives it that room sound, because obviously when you record drums in a room and the room mic's quite far away from the kit, the sound is going to hit the microphone later than it will hit the close mics on the actual kit. The next plugin I've got on here is a reverb. So this is doing quite a lot. I'm just using the ambient verb. This is a free reverb plugin. It's really good. It's by Stone Voices. Highly recommend you pick it up because I use it a lot. This is it without and with. So it makes quite a bit of difference. It really does make it sound like you're playing in a hall now. So the main thing that does that is this dry knob up here. So I've just taken that, well, basically all the way down. If I turn this up, it brings back some of the punchiness, but I find that that can often clash with the close mic. So on this I've got a 0.81 decay. You can obviously turn it up and it so just have a play about with this until you get the, again, to try and match what a room sound would be like. And the good thing about this plugin is that you've got the size and width of your space. You can mess about infinitely with all these and get loads of different sounds. Next I've got a bit of soothe. So that's to take away some of those low end frequencies that are maybe muddying it up a little bit. So this is without. And this is with. Just tidies it up a little bit. And then on to our last thing, which is the another FabFilter Pro Q3. That's actually notching out, sounds like the kick drum. Yeah, the main fundamental frequency of the kick drum. Probably because it was either making the kick sound too flabby and really muddy. So now what we'll do is I'll show you the whole kit mixed. So the stems I originally got were a kick, a snare, 2 overheads and the drum room. And this is the drum sound that I got. Now, there are some samples being blended in with the kick and the snare. I found that these stems that I got were quite hard to work with. There was a lot of bleed in the snare, loads of bleed in the snare. The kick just wasn't giving me the low end or the attack that it needed to cut through the mix. So these are the stems of the kick and snare that I got. And I've added in some samples. Let's just beef it up a bit. So that's with the kick sample in there. It's a bit of room on that kick sample as well. And same with the snare. Add in the overheads. And then lastly, add in the room mic. And then it's just a case of blending that room mic in. In this instance, I'm not actually using it a whole lot, but it just ties, it glues the whole drum mix together a lot. So if I take it out now, it sounds a lot drier. Put it back in. Without. And then with again. So yeah, it works really nicely. It's a really good way of, like I say, gelling a drum mix together. And if you really wanted to as well, you could add a stereo, like a stereo widener to this, just to give it that, as if you're micing the room up with 2 microphones and then panning them. It gives you that a stereo field effect. Obviously, it's not going to be like having 2 microphones in a room. Nothing will ever be actually having 2 room mics in a room, or maybe even 3 or 4. But yeah, I hope that helps. It's a trick that I've used loads in the whole time I've been recording, especially when I've been recording in my studio here, because the room isn't very big at all. I highly recommend doing it this way. So, thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and I'm going to do more of these because something to do, innit? We're in lockdown, fuck all going on. So, yeah. Don't forget to check out all my socials. Got new episodes of the podcast coming out soon. Starting that up again. So yeah, thank you very much. Bye.